The council remembers how difficult it was to find a site that would be suitable for multifamily high density, especially at 24 units per acre. And most of members of the council will remember that we looked at over a dozen sites all throughout the city. There are many, many sites that the city looked at to try and come up with the 16.3 acres. At the end, the site that was selected and that was rezoned was the Corporation for Better Housing site. And that site was chosen because of its proximity to schools, proximity to parks, proximity to a shopping center, proximity to public transit, and also because that site had a buffer area between the 16.3 acres and the residential neighborhood to the south. And that buffer area at the time was a PG&E easement. Since then, Corporation for Better Housing has purchased that PG&E easement, so now they own and control the buffer area.
The question is, why didn't you know about the overlay? The confusion was there. We thought
the state was not very kind to Oakley. The state was not very forgiving. The state was looking at it as this was the final year and a half of a 7-year housing element, and Oakley was just now getting on board. So there wasn't a whole lot of time or empathy at that time.
We were somewhat shocked when we first saw everything going up and wondering, wait a minute, that's not what we talked about, that's not what we approved, what's going on?
If we had satisfied all our numbers, there may be a different thing going on, but we still have 88 units that the state says we need to make available by right. So I think that then becomes a legal question. If we've got units outstanding that are supposed to be by right and we say no. You want to take that one, Bill?
Well, yeah. It's really what's happening is the legislature is involved in social engineering.
Yes.
And I understand that the members of the community didn't understand, weren't told, whatever, however you want to phrase it, were maybe not informed properly about what was done on that property. I get that.
Basically, that's what they told us, and obviously the information we get comes from our staff. And either staff wasn't prepared at the time, or for whatever reason that information wasn't relayed to us about what an overlay, what the effect of the overlay would do to this project, and how would it enlarge the project to a point that it's not anything what we thought that we approved.
However you want to phrase it.
What was not clear during the time of doing the rezonings and selecting the site was the significance of the state's language that said 24 units per acre is a base density. What that means, and what was not explained very well to the council and to the public, was that the state also requires cities to approve density bonuses for qualified affordable housing builders. And the density bonuses are up to 35% of the density, of the base density.
The question is, why didn't you know about the overlay?
In 2005, June of 2005, the state issued a conditional certification of Oakley's housing element at that time. Oakley had to rezone 16.3 acres to multifamily high density and have the affordable housing overlay with the base density of 24 units per acre. So that 24 units per acre is not a maximum. In fact, the 24 units per acre translates into 32 units per acre when you apply the density bonus. We could say that 24 units per acre and the density bonus, which translates into 32 units per acre, we could say that's not fair. We could say that's not right.
And then we had to go back to staff, and they did the oath. We somehow didn't communicate this well enough to you, to have you a really good understanding of what the overlay was involved.
And I understand that the members of the community didn't understand, weren't told, whatever, however you want to phrase it.
Oakley had to rezone 16.3 acres to multifamily high density and have the affordable housing overlay with a base density of 24 units per acre. We don't know that there's anything that the city could have done. We don't know that the city could have gotten a better deal or better. The council will remember Oakley was trying to have the base density of 20 units per acre, not 24. So 24 was the lowest that the state would go, and 24 is what exists right now.
The question is, why didn't you know about the overlay? The confusion was there. We thought.
I'm just jumping in. I'm hearing Councilman Frazier say that we can't count what we already have. You don't get to double count them. I guess probably that was the most frustrating thing when we had our general plan held hostage. I have to tell you, it wasn't the housing element. Our general plan was held hostage. It was, you will put a housing element, a certified housing element, and it will be certified before we recognize your general plan, which everything hung on our general plan, because we were mandated, again, by state law to have a general plan. And we actually had to do an extension of our general plan because we handled it so much. And I guess that was the most frustrating thing, because it was like, no problem. We have a lot of affordable housing because county put a lot of affordable housing in Oakley. That was the reason why we incorporated. But having said that, so it was like, just go count them. And then they told us, no, you can't count them. After this date, you can't count them. And so what I'm hearing is, so we're going to count our house, affordable housing from 2007, 2014, and come 2015, we're going to get more numbers. And so we're going to have this wonderful joy of going through again. And I mean, I guess that's what's frustrating to me. There is no end to it. You do whatever you think. By increasing the numbers, you wind up with 35%, which none of us realized. It was, we thought we were, when we talked a number, we thought we were talking 24. And to find out there's a lot more. And even the last time we were talking, we had this discussion in December, January, about how many, November, how many houses Corporation for Better Housing had. We're still at the 400 number, and then we come tonight. I mean, granted, you did share this information with us a week ago. We're 540. So it's just like there is no end to it, and you see the SB 375, and my fear is there's never going to be an end. At one point in time, we're going to be mandated to build. Actually, they're not going to be counted until they're actually built. I mean, that's in the future. I could see that happening. So just letting me vent my frustration, I do appreciate it, but I just really remember we were held hostage, and maybe you've always felt held hostage, because when someone far, far away tells you exactly how you're going to provide for your city, it's frustrating, and it yes, it does, and it just goes on and on. Having said that, then when you go out to apply for grants and other dollars that are federally attached or state attached, they hold you hostage for your grants because you don't have a certified housing element. So it's a vicious circle that we would like to step out of, but we're not ever going to be able to. And it's just very frustrating. I guess maybe I'm just sharing that with the audience. This whole housing element is extremely frustrating, and I know historically the Walnut Creeks, the Orindas, the Lafayette have not had to build, but I'm seeing things change. They got a lot more numbers than they anticipated from ADAG, and so they're scrambling. If they ever want to do redevelopment, I'm sure they're going to certainly start adding those units. So we're all impacted. The rules that cities used to play by and just identify and never anticipate, never intend to build are going away. I know I was on a committee and that was basically, legislature was saying, you haven't done it, you haven't built them, you will, and in time you will, and that was about 3 years ago, and so I just thank you for letting me vent. I don't think it's fair, and I don't think there's a way out of it. And the thought of zoning another parcel and having the surprise come back and say, oh, by the way, those 88 units you were looking for, they're still not built, but we have a lot more very low income, and you still have to identify those. That just is an absolutely, I just cannot see going down that road. And having this revelation that Corporation for Better Housing has 540 units that we could, I guess that would be my question. Could we, of those 540 units, could we say, okay, 88 of those would be the very low, can we put, or are we still, how do we get those 88?
There's, I would defer not to have my comment on that just from a legal standpoint. So I'll defer that to maybe a discussion with your city attorney about how that would work out. Maybe that's a subsequent conversation. But generally speaking, the entitlement process is you're entitling it, and after the fact entitlements, it's just a re-entitlement, which would redefine it rather than change it midstream.
I appreciate that. And I think probably the best is to work together. There's something to be said. Sometimes just the willingness to sit down at the table, the best comes to the surface. So I think I'm hearing everyone say, personality-wise, they can all work together. And I think there's some creativity that can happen that will be good. The best. We won't. Lower density sounds great. Amenities. There's always something to be said for amenities. Having a business center. And I think there's some sincerity, and so I'm absolutely in that mindset to work together. And this is a song, and we're not going to sing it. And I know it's running through all of our minds, but anyway, so I'm asking again, have we provided enough muddled direction to staff so you can go forward with it?